Last week at YCS Atlanta, a Pendulum Magician proved to be the best deck of the format, completely dominating the top tables and solidifying itself as the best Pendulum deck. Or is it? Today I'm going to be showing you guys a deck profile of a deck that can meddle in that thought that Pendulum Magician is the best deck. That's right, Metalfoes could possibly be the best deck or probably the best counter to the Pendulum Magician strategy. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, more awesome deck profiles, then go ahead and destroy that subscribe button. You'll probably have to set a Metalfoe spell or trap card if you destroy it, but more importantly, you can hit that notification bell because we just, well, I wouldn't say too strong, but we myth real Leo. Without further ado, I present to you a competitive Metalfoes deck profile for the February 2018 format, and of course, we have those budget options. Alright, so starting off with the monsters, I want to say that this deck takes the gold when it comes to running really good supportive monsters. I'm just going to blaze through the Metalfoe cards and maybe you guys can iron in the kinks. Alright, I'll stop with all of that. Those are fucking terrible. 3 copies of Metalfoes Volflame, 3 copies of Gold Driver, 3 copies of Silverid, 3 copies of Steelin, and I hope you guys don't click away from this video. Don't click. 1 copy of Bismugear, and there's actually a really good reason why I'm only running 1 copy of Bismugear. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about the Metalfoe monsters effects alike. Basically, all of the Pendulum scale effects say you can destroy a face-up card you control to set a Metalfoe spell or trap card from your deck to your side of the field. Now, they do have and if you do effects, so they will not force any monster that has a when you can effect to miss timing. You guys don't understand what I'm saying? Click on this video, because that will help you. The best thing about these monsters is that it allows you to destroy so many cards on your side of the field that you can really take a genuine advantage of it. And the reason why I only run 1 Bismugear is because it is a level 1 monster that I definitely want to see probably as the first Metalfoe monsters, but after that, I don't ever want to see it again. It's a really good card, but in this particular build, we want to spam as many Metalfoe monsters on our side of the field, and Bismugear kind of prevents us from doing that, seeing that it's not a normal monster, and on top of that, it is a 1 scale. If you guys would like to see this deck in action, then I actually do have a video on it. Not this particular build, but, you know, kind of a remnants of a Metalfoe build. Let's see if we can get to 150 likes, and I'll go ahead and do this particular version. It's basically an updated Metalfoes build. Now, there is a silver lining in playing all of these Metalfoe monsters. Get it? Silver lining, Metalfoe. All right. And basically, they're all normal monsters. So 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit and 3 copies of Rescue Hamster. And these rescue cards basically save the deck. Okay, man, I gotta stop. And basically what Rescue Rabbit does is by banishing this card, you can spell summon 2 normal monsters with the same name from your deck to your side of the field. Cough, cough. All of your Metalfoes monsters except for Volflame and of course Bismugear. And Rescue Hamster has a little bit of a different effect. When it's normal summoned, you can select 1 monster that is level 5 and lower, cough cough, all of your monsters except for Volflame and of course Bismugear because I only run 1, and then you know, banish this card or tribute this card. Is it tribute? I think it's tribute. I'm pretty sure it is tribute. Yeah, it's tribute. And special summon 2 monsters with that monster's name to your side of the field. So basically, it's essentially a rescue rabbit for your monsters in your scale. It's also, its scale effect is amazing. By banishing your card, your pin zone, so it frees up its scale, you can select 2 monsters with the same level, or I'm sorry, the same scale, and add them from your extra deck to your hand. So really good. I just can't imagine a you know, life without Rescue Hamster. I probably wouldn't be living. Pretty sure it's actually the same name too. Just let me make sure. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's monsters with the same name, but you guys got the point. These cards are pivotal for tutoring your normal monsters to your side of the field, and Rescue Rabbit's even more pivotal for tutoring monsters in your extra deck to your hand when you don't have a link monster and you just want to get monsters to your side of the field. Now, unfortunately, its Pendulum effect is only once per duel, but you know, it's really good. It's good enough to play. So 3 and 3 is the perfect ratio to be able to summon that. It's a card that you definitely want to see. And then the off-theme support is going to be 3 copies of Astrograph Sorcerer. Basically, when you activate your Metalfoes cards, every single time you activate your Metalfoe cards, it gives you an opportunity to use Astrograph Sorcerer's effect, which basically not only special summons itself to your side of the field, providing a free Pendulum monster to your side of the field to make Electromite, but it also tutors the card, or one of the cards that were destroyed that turn, from your deck to your hand. So it's really good inside of this build. I decided not to run Wisdom Eye. It just didn't really work well with this deck, or as well as I wanted it to. And then some other good support card is Masterpiece. Now, this card is arguably one of the boss monsters of the deck, mainly because its effects are really good still into this meta. So basically, you can banish a continuous spell or trap card in your graveyard to destroy a card on the field during either player's turn. So solid disruption to be able to disrupt your opponent's cards before they can even make a move. But the best thing about this card is that whatever monster or whatever card you tribute to summon this card, by the way, it can be tribute summoned by tributing continuous spells and continuous traps, it's unaffected by. So more often than not, you're going to be tributing a continuous trap and a monster. So more often than not, when you summon this card, he's a 2950 attack, 2950 defense monster that's unaffected by traps and monster effects. So he's pretty hard to get over. And then lastly, since I said that this deck is going to be a hard counter to the Pendulum Magician deck that's running around, we've actually been seeing a lot of turbos. I've main decked 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Now this card is far more powerful than Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring against the Pendulum Turbo build that runs 3 Electromite. Reasoning being is because your opponent wants to go through so many cards in the deck, add cards from the deck to their hand. They have desires, allures, and basically everything in between. You activate Droll and Lockbird, you can essentially stop their turn in their tracks right then and there. Droll and Lockbird is way better, probably the best hand trap against that particular deck, where Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, and Effect Veiler all have their places in the metagame. I think that Droll and Lock is a really good until that deck starts to die down. So that's it for the off-theme support, and of course our hand traps. You don't want to run more than 3 inside of this deck since it is a Pendulum deck. For the spells, we run 3 copies of Dragonic Diagram. Now I had 3 grams in my deck. Get it? 3 grams? It's a metal, okay, whatever. And basically this is going to tutor Masterpiece from your deck to your hand, and more importantly, it allows you to destroy your cards, which can trigger your Astrograph Sorcerer or put the scale that you need to your extra deck for a Rescue Hamster play. And then 3 more copies of Dragonic Diagram, because that's all Terraforming is going to do for this, is search you Dragonic Diagram. 1 copy of Full Metalfoes Fusion and 1 copy of Metalfoes Fusion. I actually wanted to run cards like Mind Control or Enemy Controller, and the thought process behind it was I can steal my opponent's Electromite and then Full Metalfoes Fusion or Metalfoes Fusion with it to make whatever I want. Unfortunately, that's not how Yu-Gi-Oh works all the time. It's not all roses and all that other stuff, but still, these cards are really good. It's basically the way that you can fusion summon inside of this deck, in case you did not know. And Metalfoes Fusion's kind of good, being able to shuffle itself back to the deck, always giving you a target to use to destroy your cards for, and being able to draw a card through its effect. Lastly is 1 copy, or not lastly for the spells, but 1 copy of Emergency Teleport. This card's really good. Bismuth is often dead after your turn 1, so you can emergency teleport it to your side of the field, and congratulations, you have a Pendulum monster that you can make Electromite with without committing your Pendulum summon, as well as 6 other targets, that being Stillen and Silverate as emergency teleport targets. And then the last spell is Disciples of the True Draco Phoenix. The odds of you using its effect are low, but when you think about it, using Heritage's effect is just as low. But if you were to get this card off, it basically shuffles all of your Draco cards back into your deck, and then you get to draw another card, as well as it is a continuous spell card for you to tribute for your masterpieces. I guess you could say that it is a critical piece for Masterpiece. So peace. To the traps, of course, 3 copies of Metalfoes Combination. This is more important than Metalfoes Counter in this deck, mainly because this is a Masterpiece target. You can tribute it for Masterpiece and gain its effect to search a Pendulum or Metalfoes card from your deck to your hand. And then True King's Return is really nasty in this deck, mainly because not only can it special summon your Masterpiece to your side of the field, but it allows you to tribute summon on your opponent's turn for your Masterpiece and initially destroying one of their monsters in the process. So that's it for the main deck at 42. For the extra deck, we run 2 copies of Heavy Metalfoes. This card is so heavy. I mean, it's probably the most heaviest metal there is. All right, I'll stop. This card probably has the best value in this deck, mainly because you can take advantage of it being a Metalfoe monster through your fusion effects, as well as being able to take advantage of all three of its effects to be able to destroy, to be able to draw, and to be able to put a card into your extra deck to your side of the field. Now, don't get me wrong, Pendulum Magician does an awesome job of using this card, but this card is meant for the Metalfoe strategy. One copy of Deco Talker. You typically want to make Deco Talker after using Electromite. You don't really want this card to sit on your field because it's pretty weak. One copy of Dual Little Chimera. This card does a lot for such a little card. Dual Little lot. All right, whatever. Basically, if your opponent goes ahead and Ghost Reaper or Winter Cherries you, for a lot of Pendulum strategies, that's kind of where they lose. Not this particular Pendulum strategy, because you can make this little Chimera, which not only does allow you to have two links pointing down and do basically exactly what you need, except obviously the awesome effects of Electromite, but it does give your monsters a 500-point boost, which actually could come up in a tight situation. One copy of Link Spider. You run a lot of normal monsters in this deck in case you ever needed to make a Link monster before you started going off, or sometimes you need those normal monsters on the board. And then the card that it's so good, but it's so not good, but it's so good. Okay, so Link Kuriboh serves two purposes. First of all, you can use Bismugear, emergency teleport Bismugear, bam, you got a Link Kuriboh. But even more importantly, I summon Alkaheist quite a bit in this deck. And a lot of times it's locked in my extra deck without any true value, and that's where Link Kuriboh comes in, giving me a Link monster in place of that fusion monster. Terribly Tired Taper, Baguska Decode is still really good, Tornado Dragon is really good, and then Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. You use this if you can. You have 6 monsters, your 3 Astrograph Sorcerer, your 3 Volflame. You use that to make the Absolute Dragon, and then your Electromite with your Absolute Dragon to make Deco Talker, which gives you the Odd Eyes Vortex since this card was sent to the graveyard. I know, it's pretty cool, right? That's it for the Xyzs and the one fusion monster that goes with said Xyz. For the rest of the fusion is Orichalc, double piercing, plus getting rid of an opponent's card when it's sent to the graveyard is just too strong. I mean, best metal there is out there. I mean, it's fucking vibranium out there. 2 copies of Metalfoes Mythrillium, or should I just say Mytrillium, or just the trillest card ever. Okay, so basically, it allows you to shuffle Metalfoes cards, your dead Metalfoes cards, or even your cards that you want back into your deck, from your graveyard to your deck to bounce a card on the field. And it's a card. You can use it to bounce your diagram and activate your diagram again. You can use it to bounce your Metalfoes scales and activate your scales again. It's just a dope ass card. The next thing is when it's into the graveyard, you can spell summon a Metalfoes monster from your graveyard or your extra deck face up to your side of the field. So it has plenty of value with this deck. It's a really, really awesome, spicy card. Unfortunately, this deck doesn't make it as much, seeing that it has to dedicate resources to its Link play first, but it's still an awesome card. And then lastly is another reason why I feel like this deck can really compete at the highest level is 2 copies of Full Metal Foes Alchemist, or should I just say Full Metal Alchemist. This card's freaking dope. I mean, think about it. This card snatches your opponent's monster, and if you happen to snatch their Electromite, it is a Metalfoe card, and Alchemist allows you to use the monster that it snatches as material for a fusion summon, but more importantly, it provides more disruption on the opponent's turn, especially when you're going against the Pendulum Turbo deck or any other type of deck that likes to make a certain card, just snatch it with this card and then fuse with it later on. This deck is really built to beat a lot of decks out there right now, and I understand that some of you guys are on a budget. We're going to talk about that a little later, but again, let's get that 150 likes for your boy, because y'all like me, and I gave you guys a really spicy deck profile. For the side deck, we'll get to the budget options after the side deck. 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Big Forehead. I like to call her Rihanna because she definitely does do a lot of talk, but she sometimes don't do all that walk. And then if there was ever a Chris Brown card, I don't know how she would stand up, especially in the price market. Her price just might get beat down. Okay, sorry guys, I don't condone in domestic violence, but I just had to do it. This card is really good against a lot of decks, and I think it's worthy of a side deck consideration. 3 copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This card's also a really nasty card. By the way, I love Rihanna's voice, but this card is another nasty card against the mirror match or even against any Pendulum matchup, because they're going to often have to make Electromite, and I don't mind not playing any other targets other than Electromite, because again, that's probably one of the only decks that I feel this deck will need to side for in particular, and this card card is a blowout against them. This withdrawal lock should get you a pretty considerable win. You have 6 ways to stop them. 2 copies of Jinzo against back row heavy decks. You summon this against your back row. You can Pendulum summon this card. You're probably going to be in a good position. 2 copies of Chaos Hunter for Trick Stars, for ABC, for so many other great decks, but more like against Trick Stars. You summon this against Trick Stars, you be like, what up? You ain't playing Yu-Gi-Oh today, but I am. 3 copies of Evenly Matched. Evenly Matched is really good. I mean, it's just the best going second card in the format right now. And then 2 copies of Mind Crush, because Evenly Matched is the best card going second in the format right now. So for the people that can't afford Ash Blossoms or Evenly Matched, Kaiju cards and Ghost Ogres are pretty decent replacements. But now that I am in here and talking about budget options, let's talk about those budget options. Obviously, we've discussed the extra deck or the side deck cards. Now going into the extra deck, I'm just going to go ahead and say that we can't afford 2 of the most expensive cards in the Extreme Force set, Heavy Metalfoes, Electromite. Everything else is pretty affordable. It's very cheap, so we'll take those out. And then going into the main deck, this deck can be pretty cheap and pretty pricey at the same time. Reason being because all the Metalfoe cards are pretty damn cheap, but the True King cards are not cheap at all. And of course, if you want that yellow slag, you got to play Ulti Terraformings, and those aren't cheap, but I ain't considered them. We're going to drop the diagrams. Since we don't have easy access to Electromite, these cards aren't as good as they wanted to be. If you guys wanted to run them, it's not a bad idea because you're still going to take a full advantage of this card in the new strategy. 3 copies, we're going to drop those obviously because, you know, diagram isn't, you know, this card isn't as powerful without diagram. Your 3 Drolan Blockbirds we're going to drop. The Rescue Rabbits because our main function isn't on Electromite anymore. The Hamsters for almost the exact same reason. Now, you guys can mix and match any of these copies back into the deck because the new Link monster that we're going to be talking about is pretty good. So basically, we're left with all Metalfoes cards. And the best Metalfoe card that isn't a Metalfoe card, if you're on a budget in this deck, is of course another dual little Chimera. Look, man, this card does so much for a little Chimera. Get it? Dual little does a lot. And then Underclock Taker. This card is going to be pretty pivotal into your strategy as well, even though it does require effect monsters. So with those 2 monsters in line, I want to talk about a deck that I've been running. I just like Metalfoes a lot. So this is Supply Squad Metalfoes. These 3 Massacre Strix are not Massacre Strix. For some reason, I can't find my Supply Squads. I just can't. But we're going to proxy these for Supply Squads. And basically, what Supply Squad does is every time one of your monsters are destroyed, you get to draw a card. Their effects do stack. So if you have 3 Supply Squads on the board and one of your monsters gets destroyed, you get to draw 3 cards. The first time you destroy one of your monsters, it breaks even. The second time, you're getting advantage. The third time, you're just outright killing your opponent. And then Karaz, the Light Monarch, is also an extraordinary card for this deck because when it's normal summoned or special summoned, cough cough, when it's pendulum summoned, you get to destroy cards on your field to draw additional cards. So if you combo the Supply Squad with the Karazes, you're going to draw up to 3 cards. And then you combo that with the Boa Baboons. When this card is summoned, you get to draw a card and put a card from the top of your deck to the bottom of your deck. So you're going to be doing a lot of drawing, and you're probably going to draw into some Metalfoe spell and trap cards. The Boba Boon not only balances those spell and trap cards back into the bottom of your deck, allowing you to use your scales effects, but it also allows you to make the Underclock Taker because it special summons 2 more copies when it's destroyed. You're also going to run more copies of Bismugear because it's probably one of the prime cards to destroy. The Cleat Fort Engine, this card is really good for making Cyber Dragon Infinity. I had to cut it inside of the regular deck because the deck just didn't need it. It's still a really good engine. Of course, Summoner's Art comes into play because searching Volt Flame is a lot easier with Summoner's Art and you have another target. Storm is really good at destroying your combinations and destroying your opponent's back row. And then Metalfoes Counter. Now, if you count in all of these cards and you know, put it in place of the cards that I took out, you're actually missing 4 cards. I'm going to leave that up to you guys, whether you want to play Ghost Ogres in the main board, Rescue Hamsters, Rescue Cats, whatever, it does not matter. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. I have a Patreon that you guys should check out. We have some awesome rewards for you guys. We're going to be continue to update this deck profile on that Patreon, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, let's try to get 150 likes, and if we do get 150 likes, I would love to post a rematch of this deck on, in another duel. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy, guys. Stay classy and keep Metalfoeing.